How's your son doing?
He's good. He's
Yeah.
he's at karate right now. Well, jujitsu.
Really?
He's teaching the class with Bill over there at Elementary Class Center,
Yeah?
and then he'll have his class. So busy.
5.7 square feet,
5.7.
yeah. So for a double hung, it's gotta be,
He's excited to come to work
34.
with you.
It's like
so I
20,
gotta do a
Well-
34 inch wide.
it's the 24 high.
Springtime, my guy.
Springtime, yeah.
Spring.
Right,
Well,
so I gotta do
yeah.
34 inch wide. By 48, yeah, that's fine, so it's just gonna be 34 inch wide.
But when you say 48, are you talking rough opening?
Rough opening, so, yeah, so I've gotta fit,
It still
48.
wouldn't fit.
no, not rough opening, no, 24, the panel and the panel, so I think the 52 tall gets you there, 34
On the crank
wide.
out?
No, 34 wide by,
Because you gotta end up with 24 high,
Right.
up and down.
right,
And that's
so I've
then-
got 52 up and down, so I'd have to look at the,
But it's the opening, the actual clearance.
no, it's not the clearance. it's
Right,
the square
how
footage.
about that, because I'm
Because you
talking
can do
into
an awning
my,
type window that's 12
my-
inches wide.
But you still gotta have the 24 high,
Nope, oh,
yeah.
you were correct. Four times 8 times 2. That's 5.667 feet squared, so apparently that one counts. I'm just gonna sit here and do research for the guys without having to do. I'm gonna ask you guys all sorts of questions. How's trouble?
See, this actually worked out really good. Because we're gonna talk about yours, you're not on the board.
And I can't do anything, right?
Yes, that's good. To be planned that way, totally.
Looks totally intentional.
Well, this thing isn't working. At least the thing isn't working. I don't know, everything is broken around here. Broken rules.
Right. Good? Yours are good? Yeah, I think we're all set.
See, we look more important than Eric.
Yeah, because we're a gang.
He's all down
I
there.
don't want to sit in the middle chair, and I don't want any responsibility.
Frank's gonna run the whole meeting, so.
Can I come over to the fringe side?
You can.
What did we do? Sorry. We
He said
offended
he's
you?
lacking responsibility. I've done too much responsibility
Oh.
today.
I'll put some on his shoulders.
All right, Frank, I'll come over for coffee tomorrow.
All right.
Penny, I love what you're doing.
Yes, well, I'm a MacGyver of meetings.
Oh, it's not 36, I wrote 36 already.
Okay. I think we now have everything.
36 by 50.
Okay, so does our vice chair want to call the meeting to order?
We ready?
Yeah.
I call the meeting to order at 6:04 of the Caribou Planning Board. And would like to welcome returning members in the new year to the Planning Board. And hopefully we'll fill a vacant seat in the near future. Item of business is to elect our officers for 2025. And as acting chair, I would entertain a nomination for, to begin with, a chairperson.
Can we nominate Amanda?
I think so. She's going to be appointed on Monday. This was just an oversight from, that she wasn't, and she's applied, so she's on the hook.
Excellent. I would like to nominate Amanda for
Second.
chair.
Okay. Moved and seconded to nominate Amanda as chair. Is there other nominations? Seeing none, I will call for a vote for Amanda as chairperson for 2025. Steve?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Congratulations, Amanda.
Simone as well.
Next position to fill is the office of vice chairperson.
Can I nominate Frank?
Why can't you? Only if you want to.
I would like to nominate Frank to the position of vice chair.
I second that nomination.
All right. Are there other nominations? Seeing none, all those in favor of Frank for vice chair? Steve?
Yes.
Maura?
Yes.
Yes.
And I will be a yes. I should have said that early. And that one's taken care of. And secretary, it's the last position. Secretary was
JR.
JR, yeah. So you'll have to come up with a new one. You can't. No choice.
Well, Dave's not here to defend himself, so.
Nominate Maura?
I would second that.
You okay, Maura?
Speechless.
Are there nominations? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Steve?
Yes.
I will vote yes. Maura?
Yes.
And Eric?
Yes.
Thank you very much. We have our officers for 2025. Meeting dates, I think in our packet we had some suggested dates. Yes. Page 4 is what mine says.
So these reflect them being on the second Thursday of each month. I do have notes in there. June and July, those are also Thursdays on Sweden Street. So if you want to have it the either before or after, you could. The 19th, which is the week after, is a holiday. July 10th, you could reschedule it to the 3rd or the 17th without any issue. August 14th, I will be away at a manager training, I think. I mean, I'm not registered yet, of course. It's not open yet, but it's on my calendar. But maybe we'll have a real code officer then. Fingers crossed. So I don't know if you want to just keep it the second Thursday and then change it as you feel like changing it, or if you want to.
So we could accept
Yeah, you could accept it and then just change
this,
it
and
as
as
you
we
go.
get close, we could
Yeah.
make some
If
adjustments.
somebody said, oh, I want to do something for Thursdays on Sweden or something, you can change it. No big deal. And I may or may not go to this training in
Right,
August,
right.
because the week before that is the Brownfields Conference, so it seems like a lot to try to do two things in 1 month.
And as we get closer, we might have a sense of the business, whether it needed to be immediate or it could be delayed.
Correct,
So
yeah,
it may make sense just to wait till we get
closer.
closer to the dates. If these dates are satisfactory, I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to
Eric?
accept those dates.
Okay?
I second that motion.
Moved and seconded to accept the proposed dates, meeting dates for 2025 as presented. We'll vote. Steve?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Mara?
Yes.
And Eric?
Yes.
The dates are accepted. Thank you. I don't know why it says, so that was our annual reorganization, I gather.
Yeah.
And so now we start tonight's meeting. So I'll call that meeting to order. So now as we reorganize, we're at 6:10. And we have a quorum with 4 board members present. And I would ask if there's any conflicts of interest on items to be discussed this evening. Hearing none. Assume there's none, and we'll go to new business. First item is CDBG approval needed for new use of ongoing business, the county ag business. And we have some documents to support this item.
Really, you just have my memo in
Okay.
here, which is on page 5. I've got the wrong page on here.
Yep.
The City of Caribou has received approval from the State of Maine Department of Economic and Community Development to move to the project development phase, which is phase 2 of an economic development program application to support an expansion of services offered at County Ag and Turf Supply located at 7 Dow Siding Road, map 5, lot 11F. The funding to be provided by the Community Development Block Grant funds will be for a stand-up sprayer spreader, aerator, service management software, and inventory for the efficient service of spreading turf chemicals. There has been a growing demand for the delivery of these services which require an applicator's license. This expansion will create jobs in the business. The business is in the RC2, the Rural Commercial Zone. The business has been ongoing since 2019. This service complements the other goods and services provided and does not go beyond the scope of what is allowed in the RC2 zone. So all they need is a letter from the planning board, but it has to come from the planning board, not just a code officer, that what they're doing is allowed in that zone. And that there's no issue with that. So Steve, there's nothing you know of that's any issue or anything
No.
out there, no? I just see it.
It makes sense.
They sell all those chemicals, but they're gonna have, an employee that's got the pesticide applicator's license and have the equipment for them to be able to provide that service.
So we're looking for a letter of support.
Yep, and so I have it, but of course I have Amanda's name on here. So I'll have her sign it next week. I'll just change the date. And when she comes to get sworn in after she's appointed, I'll have her sign it.
Yeah. It's just an assurance
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah, I haven't even figured it out. Oh, we gotta
funds will be
register.
used in appropriate.
Yep, so the
zone.
city, the city has to actually apply for the Community Development Block Grant, and we actually administer all the funds for it. We're not the beneficiary of it, but we have to be the fiduciary agent for it. So it's
Gotcha.
actually the city that applies on behalf of the business.
All right. Other questions about this proposal? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to support this grant application with a letter from the planning board.
I would make that motion.
Okay, thank you, Steve.
Second.
Eric, seconds. Discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. We'll start with Eric this time.
Yes.
Maura?
Yes.
And I vote yes?
Yes.
Is yes. Right. The motion is approved.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay?
I mean, you're good and all, I mean, but you're probably gonna stick around
I am
anyway.
gonna stay around.
So we thought we might move item C, which is a site design application for ACAP Bowles Road subdivision.
Okay.
That we could move that first. If that pleases our acting chairperson.
You have it?
Are the numbers on? Nope, just on that
What?
one.
It's also right here, like there's a packet
Oh,
that
it's-
goes to it.
is the packet on the,
Yeah, the packet's in the packet, but the packet, these are better ones. These were provided by BRSA.
the one that was on our table?
Yeah, that was on
Okay.
the table.
And then the map goes with it too.
Yeah.
And so we do have Jason Parent from ACAP and Tim Royks from BRSA here. So whatever questions that you have, they're here to answer.
Okay.
So do you guys want to talk about the project or anything? Yeah.
Thank you to the planning board members and the city for allowing us to present the package of information you have before you. My name is Tim Royks. I'm a land surveyor and engineer with B.R. Smith Associates in Presque Isle. I'm here today on behalf of the Aroostook County Action Program, or as we all know it as ACAP. Jason Parent is here as well as part of ACAP. My request of the planning board tonight is for you to approve the subdivision of the current building that ACAP operates on the Bowles Road here in Caribou. Sounds a little odd why it's a building for a subdivision. Just a little history of that, not the building, just how we got to a subdivision. And it is a state of Maine requirement. If a property is divided into 3 or more lots in a 5-year period, and those lots are offered for sale or lease. We all think of a piece of property, we divide it up, we build our homes on it, it's a residential development. But the word lease comes up, and this is not unique to Caribou or to anybody else. Because you lease an apartment, it is considered a lot. If you have 3 or more units in your building, it's a subdivision. So we do these, not all the time, but they are a thing, and a building is a subdivision. So that's why we're here today, is asking your approval for that subdivision. And the subdivision consists of the building itself and the remainder land at 17 Bowles Street or 17 Bowles Road that ACAP owns. So the floor plan that we put together, a conceptual floor plan, has 15 units in it. It's a combination of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. So those 15 units are lots 1 through 15. There are 2 corridors in the building. Those corridors don't touch, so they get their numbers as well. Those are lots 16 and 17. The remainder of the property is the lawn, the parking, all of the wooded area, everything else that they own, that's lot 18. So that's how the numbering system is derived. Lots that are actually apartments, 2 corridors, and then the remainder land. So that's what is shown on our drawings. What we've submitted, 2 different pieces of the application. The first half being the 8.5 by 11s that you have. That is your application, your being the City of Caribou's Planning Board application we've completed, submitted it to you. The attachments to that application were required to provide a deed to the property, which we have, which shows that ACAP has standing in the property. We also have included the certificate of good standing, which is from the state of Maine, showing that ACAP is just that. They are operating in good standing. And we also have to provide a statement of the soils. And we've attached a copy of the USDA soils map for the area. That's the first half of it. That's the application itself. The second half of the submission are the 3 large sheets. There is sheet C101, which is the existing conditions. Basically, it's an aerial view looking down on the property. It shows where the building is located, existing building is located, where the parking is, where the poles are, where the handicap parking is, where the playground area is. We located a well, and et cetera. So that is an overview. That is the existing conditions of what's there today. The second sheet is C102. That is the proposed sheet. What that information, or what is contained on that, is the building has numbers on it which represent the 17 lots, the 15 apartments, the 2 corridors. We're showing a proposed pump house. A residential unit is required, a residential building is required for that, where there's apartments and there will be sleeping. We're required to have a sprinkler system. There is a well on site today, so because there is no public utilities in order to be able to drive the volume of water that's needed, we've shown a pump house, and that pump house will have a cistern. Basically, the basement will be the swimming pool, if you will, will be able to hold water should there be a fire. So the proposed shows that proposed location. That would be a change, or an addition, not a change, that would be an addition. And then the layout for the building is shown on that sheet C102. The last large sheet that's in there is SV101, SV for survey, that actually shows the actual meets and bounds of the apartments themselves, which make up the lots. We've gone from the outside wall limits to the face of the corridors, and then down between walls that would divide up apartments, basically a party wall. In those areas of the individual lots, the apartments and the corridors, there's a table that lists the number that corresponds to the apartment, and it lists the area of each of those lots. We've got it tied down from the northwest corner of the building to the center of the road to be able to tie it down for a subdivision. So that's a whole lot of information in a short time. It is a subdivision, so we need your blessing for that subdivision. Together with that, we also want to make you aware that, and again, no hidden agenda here, like a lot of municipalities in a particular zone, you have to have, again, if it was a residential subdivision, you may have to have a couple hundred feet of road frontage for that lot to be accessible, and you'd have to have road frontage. If you look, pick a lot, it doesn't matter, lot 15, it's 600 square feet. It has no road frontage. So you're approving a subdivision, but it's very unique. Your standards. So what we're presenting, there isn't anything. There's no hidden agenda. There's just, it's odd. It's a building. So we're asking for approval for that subdivision of the building. The applicant, being ACAP, is also pursuing funding for the project, and as every submission for whatever funding, as you were talking about earlier with your CDBG monies, you submit applications and you're scored like any test, anything else. And as they go through, it's a very competitive pool that they're part of. So one of the items is, do you have a floor plan? We've worked with them for a floor plan, so they get points for that. We've worked with some contractors to develop some initial costs, they get points for that. Then, well, do you have an approved site plan? Well, we don't yet, but we're hoping to when we leave here. So that gets them a couple of more points. So that's why we're here tonight, to be able to get a couple additional points on their application so they can continue to be good partners here in Caribou. And so that's my request. One is for you to approve this, and then towards the end, and again, assuming that you do approve it, my second request is there's a waiver period for, not a waiver period, there's an appeals process that, as you know, like any decision, whether it's a planning board, zoning board, council, people can come in and appeal it. They can, they being ACAP through their submission to the funding source, you have a 30-day window on your appeals, which is very typical. We're asking that be shortened up, because when they submit that, they get a couple of more points by saying, hey, the appeals period has closed. The window for their submission deadline is before your appeals process ends. And looking around, Jason being the only one in the audience, I'm assuming there may not be any controversy to this, and I don't know, Penny, if you've heard anything since it's hit the paper. So before we get too far, my initial ask is to please approve it, and then if we need to discuss the waiver afterwards, we could, but if they are separate discussions, great, but at a minimum, we'd like to have the plan approved. So that's our presentation. Gladly will answer any questions.
So, Tim, you mentioned a timeline. What is the timeline?
I'll have Jason answer the submission better. We've done the nuts and bolts of the plan. Jason can give you the dates and times of what they need to do and when.
Steve, did you have a question before Tim steps down about the subsurface wastewater disposal system?
That's going to be a change of use, and I would
Yes.
think with 15 dwelling units, that's probably going to end up being a fairly substantial wastewater disposal system. I don't know, I don't know what it would be sized at presently for all the children, but that probably needs to, and it's going to need to be done by an engineering firm because of the size.
Yes, certainly.
So, and I guess, I would assume that you folks have already thought of,
We have, and that's where we looked at the bed, like they asked for the flow rate of the system, and we looked at the number of bedrooms. There are, and yes, Steve, it's a concern, but for us, it was less of a concern because there are not the same number, but there's a number of employees that are there today that are using that. There is some kitchen facilities there as well, plus there are a number of students there. So yes, we can answer that question with some calculations, but our initial thought is 15 apartments will have less of a load overall than the daily activities that go on there. Thank you.
But do you have like a design of what's there now that we can compare?
I do not
We
have
don't,
that number.
okay.
Jason, do you know off the top of your head, put you on the mic, staff members there, 10, 12, 15, do you know how many?
20 staff
Okay.
members there on a regular basis and about 70 children.
Okay, so now granted, not every not every child, because there's some infants, but 20 staff members there. We've got 15 apartments, some singles, some doubles. So the load, if you had 15 people plus the second apartment, you may have the 20 or even 25 people there. It's currently supporting 20 plus the kids. So it's more than needs to be.
I would question though, is the design on file?
Right, that's what I was
Oh,
asking, but I don't
I'm
know.
sorry, I got
Yeah.
way caught
You know,
in the
for
weeds then.
for the
The current one, I have not seen the current one, but nor have I looked for it either.
because if the state doesn't have it, there are often the city of Caribou doesn't have one either.
I don't know, Steve, I have not looked for it.
But just a kind of a cautionary. And
It's
then
been
I don't know
at
that
least
we
3
can
years.
shorten our length, our timeline. I'm kind of thinking that the ordinance stipulates 30 days from the preliminary presentation before the planning board could approve it.
Okay,
I'm not sure, though.
it costs nothing for us to ask.
You're talking about public hearing,
Yeah.
the public hearing, yeah. That's why I was interested in how tight your timeline was.
So
Yeah.
I can address that. A
Okay.
grant is due with Maine Housing on the 23rd of this month.
Oh,
Or this month,
Of this month, yes.
so we can't.
And that's no reflection on ACAP dragging their feet. As things become available, they're out there looking and looking and looking, and I think that is part of, you can eliminate a lot of people in the pool by making the window so tight,
mm-hmm.
and they don't have to be the bad guy. So all of a sudden, Jason's like, wow,
Mhm.
we need this in 10 days. They've eliminated 80% of the pool.
So you talked about gaining points for every showing evidence of progress.
Yes,
So you could still submit the application, but you would lose some points if we hadn't reached final approval.
Correct.
But if you had initial approval, to a here, there'd be a, yeah.
Have the butters been notified?
Uh,
The letters gone out to, what is it, 500 feet or?
I mean, no, we haven't.
Not
I
that
mean,
we
we got this last week in
That's a
time for me
public
to have the
hearing.
packet, but
For them
we
to-
haven't
yeah.
advertised a public hearing, or I didn't realize we had such a tight time frame for trying to get something together. I mean, I couldn't have had a public hearing tonight anyway, because I just got it last week, so. And of course, we only have weekly paper, so we have to have it in like the Thursday or Friday. And then it still has to be advertised for longer than that. Well, you could do it for a Thursday meeting, but, yeah.
Any chance Misha would extend their due date?
No.
Afraid
They're
not.
keeping-
No, again, because there are so
Yeah.
many people chasing that money, no.
I don't know if you talked about it, you talked about number of apartments, single and double occupancy. The population that you're looking to attract to those apartments, or?
Certainly, so it's
Do you want to
fair
go to the
market-
microphone, That's just so we have it?
Certainly, so it's fair market housing. It's 80% of area median income. So it's about, for a single individual, it's between $46,000 and $47,000 of income. It's not a low-income facility that we're looking to propose in any way, shape, or form. What we're really hoping to do is to solve the housing crisis, help work towards solving the housing crisis in the area. And what we anticipate will happen as a result is that some individuals living in current units within the city will seek to live in this particular facility. It's specifically designed for workforce housing that will open up other units in the community for lower-income families.
Right. Okay, thank you, Jason.
So can you talk a little bit about the grant funding? Like you said, it's through Maine State Housing, or?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
part of the governor's most recent package to expand funding across the state for housing. It's the second year in a row that this has been offered. And it is specifically for affordable market rate housing. And it is a very highly competitive process, which is part of the reason why it was released in late November. It was actually released just the week before Thanksgiving. And so we had been working on it for a couple of months and had been looking at what last year's proposal to potential bidders was to try to gauge. And so there have been a few changes. One of those changes has been that the planning period expired, or the appeals process period expired. That was not something that was included in last year's grant proposal. I can share with you that this would be contingent upon us receiving this funding. In other words, if this project were to not advance, we would likely not be advancing the project if the funding was not there and available for us. So it is contingent upon the funding for us.
Right. Okay.
Other questions I can answer as it relates to that project?
So, you're just heavily reliant on this one grant. There's no like plan B, C, D, or anything like that?
We would continue to look for additional funding. There will
Okay.
probably be other grants. This particular grant funding source is really one that has been intentionally designed to not put a lot of obstacles in terms of getting to the finish line on the project. There are other grant funding sources for housing that are equally as competitive, but that have a lot more strings attached to them. This really is the best way forward at this particular time. But as other funding opportunities would come available, we've had the plans drawn up for, we would continue to look for additional funding sources. But it may delay the project for a period of years.
I'd say coming from me used to chase grants day and night, I understand the struggle you're having currently with the situation, but I also commend you guys for wanting to do more for the community.
I appreciate that. I want to also go on record that I've had the conversation with the city manager and we have informed the families through a memo yesterday at our early care and education facility. It is certainly not our intent to change scope and in terms of programs that we'd be offering here in the Caribou community. So it is not our intent to leave Caribou in terms of early care and education services. As a matter of fact, we are hopeful that we can expand some of our early care and education partnerships. Our agency is moving toward what we call the community school concept, which is being really pioneered right now in the Skowhegan new school that's being built in Skowhegan. And we're actually looking, as part of our efforts in partnership with the RSU here in Caribou, to actually move some of our classrooms, regardless of whether this project moves forward or not, into the community school next fall. And we would certainly look for alternative locations in a rental facility for us in Caribou for the other programs, for the infant and toddler programs, which we would hopefully, if the project wouldn't go through, we would actually retain our facility and add an infant and toddler classroom, pending that we're able to find additional staff to staff that next fall. And also, as I've shared with the city manager, that we've been successful in a vacant classroom we had in our Holton facility in subletting a classroom to a local provider who preferred not to provide childcare in her own home setting. So we would also look to that as an alternative that may be able to provide additional growth in the other area where we're seeing a shortage, a critical shortage, and that's in childcare. So we're looking to hopefully work on two challenging issues for communities, not only Caribou, but across the state of Maine, which is housing, affordable housing, and childcare.
Thank you for that. So do we want to go through the application? See if there's any things that are not complete or have questions.
I could not find the septic design online, which is not to say that it's not in the locked file room that I don't have a key to down here. Probably scare one up upstairs. But I have to say the online system, you really have to kind of go through like every permit that ever was, because they have things spelled wrong, they have the wrong road. Like, I searched the Bowles Road, but it could just as easily say it was on the Baird Road, you know, where it's right there too, or Access Highway. Or something else, if someone else calls it something different. I'm pulling up this shoreline zoning map right now. Let's see.
That'd be an NA.
Well, listen, I found one the other day that I was like, why am I even looking? Because that's not in the shoreline zone. And then come to find out there was a little bit of resource protection there. And that's why I always check. It doesn't matter. Always try to check. So here's Access Highway. Bowles Road. Well, good. It is not in the shoreline zone. But again, I always have to check now after finding that one. That was kind of a surprise.
So do you think Maine State Housing would accept a letter of intent from the city, even though the planning board hasn't finalized an approval of the subdivision? But we could do a straw poll and turn that into a communication to go down to Misha. Do you think that would give you some leverage, maybe?
Certainly at a minimum. Could we call it a preliminary plan review? I think the word approval is going to be important for Misha. So I know I'm coming in here asking for everything, right? I mean, that's
Never
that's
hurts
what
to
we do.
ask,
Never hurts
right?
to
Yeah.
ask, Penny.
That's right.
But if we could at least say it's a preliminary plan, I think the word approval is gonna be very important. And even if it says preliminary plan, but preliminary plan approval, and we'll come back, you know, which is not uncommon, we'll come back.
That might,
So-
yeah, that might cut us some,
I just think plan and approval in the same sentence gets us a couple of points.
I was just trying to figure out it, like, when we could set up, you know, yeah, exactly. I mean, you could. Yes, okay, so there you go. We're thinking the same way. 'Cause do you think that you're gonna submit it on the 23rd, probably?
We're hoping a little earlier.
Yeah. Because I was thinking, well,
Aiming for the 20th.
you're aiming for the 20th.
A few days is the difference.
Yeah, well, I know, I'm just trying to do the math in my head with, like, advertising, like, if we advertised a public hearing, and, so today's Thursday, so like, it could get in the paper for Wednesday, the 15th, but it still has to be, like, advertised for a week. So that would mean like the 22nd. That's what I'm saying, you know. And then we have to make sure we have all of our abutters notices all mailed too. At least in the country, there's not so many in 500 feet. You know?
There's a few apartments on the other
Yeah,
side.
yeah, well, and that's it, like, I don't know who lives in all of them, you know, but, is it Sear Apartments, or
Yeah,
they
and
the
a lot of
ones
it
that
doesn't
own that
apply
across the street, or do you know?
the project.
But we have to go
I
to the
can't remember off the
committee
top
then
of my head. I know they have a new
We
owner.
can, and then we can just.
It's because it's not
indicate it,
RLW
NA,
anymore.
ABC.
You know, not applicable.
Okay. So we want to do that? If you want to turn to page 4, we'll go down through the application to affirm its completeness. So we have an application. Is that correct? I would say yes. Location map? Yes. 10 full-size 24 by 36 copies of plans. Do we have that, Penny?
Yep, you got that right on your desk there.
That's, okay. Name of the subdivision
Yep.
It's on there.
is
8 Cat Bowles Road.
8 Cat
subdivision.
Bowles Road, yeah. Right, title, or interest?
Yep, they have a copy of their deed in the packet.
Yep, I saw that. Standard boundary survey.
They have that in the large set of plans that you have.
All right.
there.
Current deed, that was what you referenced before. Future covenants, easements, or deed restrictions.
Do you plan to add any?
There will be none.
Okay.
Sewage disposal and location of test pits.
We show the subsurface system in the east side in the back of the property.
On the map there?
Yes.
I think we're going to need a question mark on
Yeah,
that.
we're gonna have to check into that. Like I said, I looked online here and I couldn't find anything online, just quickly, but keep going and I'll see.
Okay.
I'll search like Baird Road and Access Highway. I feel like I've seen a copy of it, but it could just be wishful thinking. Like I'm thinking, didn't I see something that said ACAP? Anyway, continue.
Internal plumbing,
Was it internal plumbing? I'm
I remember
thinking I've
that.
seen?
yeah.
So we'll move on to 7 is water supply.
We show the well.
Okay. Date, north arrow, and graphic scale.
Those are on the plan.
Yep.
All the plans.
Engineered plans. Owner of record, applicant, adjoining property owners, and plan preparer.
We show the owner with the tax map and lot. Applicant is the same, their deed is there. The adjoining property owners for this subdivision is ACAP himself. The subdivision is the building. and they
Oh.
own all the way around it.
Right. Soil survey,
We included that as an attachment to the application.
yep, I saw that. Wetland identification.
There are no wetlands.
Yeah, and we did just look at the shoreline zoning map here too, and there's nothing in resource protection or any kind of wetlands here.
Number of acres, location, property lines, existing buildings, vegetation, physical features, trees larger than 24 inches in diameter, and location of clearings.
That's on the
That's
three
on-
big sheets that we've submitted.
Rivers, streams, brooks, lakes, ponds within or adjacent to the subdivision.
There are none.
Contour lines,
That's on the existing plan, shows the elevations of
Yep.
the site.
I see it. Shoreland zoning if applicable.
It's
It-
not.
It's not. Page 5 is existing and proposed culverts.
There are no culverts exists and none are proposed.
Existing roads, highways, easements, parks, or open space within the subdivision.
We showed the two adjoining roads, both the Bowles Road and the Baird Road.
Okay. Proposed roads, public improvements, open space within subdivision.
No proposed roads or open space within this development.
None. Lot lines, dimensions, and area of lots.
That's on the last sheet, the SV 101.
Okay. Public use lots.
None.
Not applicable. Dedicated open space for public use.
None.
Flood management,
Not applicable. We're not in a
not
flood
in a
zones.
flood zone. The geologic survey.
Same thing, doesn't apply.
Estimate of traffic.
Same for, there are, like I said, 15 apartments. The code says 1 parking space per unit, and there are 20 spaces there now and 2 handicap spaces. So the estimate of traffic would be 15 at one per unit.
Is that a document in here somewhere?
I put a note on the plan, yes, there's a
On the
note on the
plan?
plan that identifies what the code stipulates and the number of units.
Okay, thank you. Wildlife habitat.
Doesn't apply.
Great Pond watershed.
We're not in a Great Pond watershed.
Okay. Estimate of additional expenses to be incurred by Caribou to support and maintain the development of the subdivision, such as schools, police, water, recreation, wastewater, roads, storm, water, or solid waste disposal.
We don't see any increase in any of those. There is a well on site. There's a subsurface wastewater disposal system on site. Both the Bowles Road and Baird Road are currently maintained, plowed, et cetera, by the city. The applicant is responsible for their own solid waste. They have their own dumpster there, and that's not expected to change. So nothing is expected to be different operational-wise than it is today.
So zero impact.
We see no impact.
Okay. Estimate of taxable valuation at completion of the subdivision.
I believe that is right there. If you look at estimated cost at 3.3 million is what our build-out was.
What document did you refer to?
That was on the first page of the application. I'm sorry, not the first page, first, second,
On page 39, about midway,
yes, well, yeah.
it describes the estimated cost for infrastructure improvements. I mean, keep in mind, ACAP is tax exempt.
Oh, okay.
Right, page 3 says estimated cost.
Page 3 on the
for-
application.
Yep.
Yep. Okay.
And it says the last section is items to be waived from final plan. I guess just for your own acknowledgement that these lots are are apartments and not developable lots to put a building on. So I don't know if you have to make any internal notes, like there's no road frontage, and et cetera like that.
Wouldn't parcel 18 abut the road?
Yes, it does. But the individual, yes, 1 through 17.
So
will
as,
have-
as part of the total subdivision plan, 18,
18 provides access.
plenty of
yes.
road, Plenty of road frontage.
Plenty of road
Right.
frontage, yes. Yep.
Any other item that should be noted as waived?
I wonder, well, I think, since we're not finding a plan for subsurface wastewater, we, as the board, should be cautious about using the word approval of the subdivision until we know that there is a capable subsurface wastewater plan on file somewhere.
And can that be part of the final submission? I guess it's gonna have to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a bump in the road, I think.
But we'll be back.
We all set? What about that? Do we do that or not?
Well, that would be our final plan. So what we've accomplished here is the preliminary.
So that's enough to get to hearing?
Yep.
Okay, so are we ready to have a motion? Don't need to look to you. Do what you want.
I would like to make the motion that we can provide ACAP with a communication stating that we have approved the preliminary plan for the Bowles Road subdivision.
And recommend it to go to hearing, or you want to do that separate?
Yeah, no, well, and I think we need to,
Separate them?
in the final approval, I think it takes a month to get from this meeting
To the next
to a
one.
final.
Okay.
Because of mailings and advertising and whatever.
Yeah,
All right.
Hopefully Misha will accept the approval of the preliminary as
Yeah.
a step forward.
So let's start with that as a motion. If there is a second? Eric, seconds? Did you capture all of that, Penny?
Nope, but the good news is it's recorded. So provide ACAP with a communication indicating preliminary plan approval.
Preliminary plan approval is probably the gems that we're all looking for. Discussion on the motion as presented. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote on that motion, and I'll start with Eric.
Yes.
Maura?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Steve?
Yes.
Yes. All right, the motion for preliminary plan approval has passed.
But we will get right on it as soon as we can to get to final, because I know how these grants work. And it's possible they could be reviewing your grant in March and say, so Jason, where are you? Like we see that, like if they get down to between funding you and funding someone else, they may call and say, well, where are you now? And we can definitely get, with the planning board's approval. I'm just saying from my point, we'll get it going, because having been through different processes, I know that you can get it in there and get all your stuff in there, but a lot of times they ask for more documentation. And if we're still working on things and bringing things forward, they can recognize that, oh, well, they're not waiting for us, they're keeping it
It'll be
going.
important to hear from you, Penny, as you back figure, what your submission dates are, and when the final, or when the next planning board meeting
Yep.
is scheduled. That'll be important, because, like you said, as they're doing the review, if they reach out to Jason and say, what's next? He can say, we know that the next meeting is February 22nd, we're on the docket.
Right.
So, once you back figure that date,
Mhm.
that's gonna be important as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
And I would actually say to that point, and I would put that in the
In the-
application that we
yeah.
submit 20th or 23rd, or
Okay.
whenever we submit it, we would indicate in our annotated section that the preliminary approval has moved forward and
Mhm.
that the final consideration will happen on
Mhm.
site meeting.
Yeah. We could even put it in the letter,
That would be.
you know, to have like the time frame in there too.
A best practice, actually.
Yeah, and I was thinking of something else too, when you were talking about annotating some of your sections there, because I know what that's like too, you know, to be trying to capture everything. But I think if we get a lot in the letter and we've got our dates and things nailed down and I know what I was thinking, because sometimes, and I don't know about this one in particular, but I'm finding something that's different now than like the Brownfields application. That wasn't 2 years ago when we were applying, this wasn't a thing, but this year when we applied was, you know, is the public on board? Have you had any like negative like comments and things like that? So I think when we're getting closer to the 20th too, if we can say, you know, we've sent out the abutters notices, this is what we've had for feedback, we can incorporate that too, especially if we haven't got any, you know, negative feedback on that or something like that. But that's, I don't know if it's specifically in yours, but I've seen it in ours, particularly the Brownfields one. And I remember thinking to myself, who could possibly like be mad that we're trying to clean up contamination? But they want to make sure that it's something that the community is on board with, because they don't want to approve something and not approve another project if the community's not on board. So,
So Penny, do we need a formal motion to go to public hearing? Or
if you
is
want to,
that-
that'd be great, because then I can incorporate that.
All right.
in.
So the chair will entertain a motion to approve the preliminary application and hold a hearing at our next meeting.
I make a motion.
Eric
Second?
makes a motion to have a hearing on this at our next meeting, seconded by Steve. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we'll vote. Steve?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Maura?
Yes.
And Eric?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. The motion is passed. Thank you very much,
Thanks
gentlemen.
so much for coming. And thanks for really being proactive to try to really deal with a couple of very complicated issues in the community. And it's something that's been talked about, and it's nice to see like solutions coming forward.
Thank you for your partnership. You've been
Yeah.
wonderful to work with, and we appreciate the
Thanks.
support of the planning board.
Great. All right.
Thank you so much.
So back to our agenda, we'll go to the concept number 5B, concept plan review, site design application, Jondro Cabins on Old Washburn. This is a catchy title.
So we just happen to have Mrs. Jondro
do.
of the Jondro Cabin on the Old Washburn Road here tonight to talk about the project.
How fortunate.
Go ahead.
Hello, planning board.
Yes.
My name's Amanda Jandro. I have submitted a site development package for review. My husband and I have a parcel on the Old Washburn Road that abuts the state of Maine ITS trail. And we are going to take the opportunity to put in a couple of rental cabins, trying to capture short-term rentals, hunters, outdoor enthusiasts, and the like. I have included an overall site plan which shows the parcel is a 36-acre parcel. We abut Irving Farms at the corner of York Street and Old Washburn Road, and then the rest is residential. And then across the way from the ITS 83 is Soderberg's, and then Soderberg's also has a little small parcel on the same side of the track as well. So that's the overall site plan. The blow-up site plan is C10-2. I've indicated the two septic designs. They are 20 by 45s. And then the cabins themselves are going to be 24 by 36. The idea is to put at least one in this year, but since we're planning on two, we thought we would get approval for the site design, so it counts as multi-family. I've included on page 23 the septic designs. And then on page 26 starting is kind of the floor plans and the elevations. And one cabin will be this and the other one might be a mirror, or they might be exactly the same floor plan. That's the septic design. On page 32 is our deed. And 35 is the city parcel location. And that is it.
What's there now, Amanda?
Nothing.
It's an open field?
It is very lightly wooded at the front, but largely open in the back. It was actually, the majority of the property was actually in CRP for the last 15 years. So it's mowed every 3 years.
And is there a curb cut or how's access gained?
I
Where
have
do I
not
see
applied
that?
to the city yet for a curb cut, but there will be, I need to apply to the Caribou Utilities, no, Public Works, thank you.
I'm actually
for
gonna check right
An
now to just make
application for
sure.
a curb cut. I think it's 75.
Is that indicated on one of these documents somewhere?
Yeah, you'll see the curb cut on
Page
the
22.
C10-2, the blow-up plan. And we've got, I've located a pole, and we are going to do underground utilities in, and it'll be a private well.
I just checked the shoreline zoning, and there's no shoreline zoning there. I'm telling you, sometimes it can freak you out where there's shoreline, like
Yeah.
there's like resource protection, and you're not expecting it. You're
Yeah.
like, what
it's
the
not-
heck?
It's not that far from the Caribou Stream. There's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I checked it just in case. Because I make myself do that now. I don't rely on my own thinking about it.
Other questions for Amanda?
Other than I need bigger windows.
Yeah, so you guys got that all worked out before the meeting ever started, though. That was good.
Just costing me more money, Steve.
So on the map right here, we're looking at the main DOT public map viewer, which tells us the jurisdiction for the road, and it is a city road, so it isn't something that you would need to go to main DOT.
Yep.
It would just be a matter of contacting Public Works. Something else I
Washburn.
always check
I know.
too, because sometimes there's like, you know, some kind of a weird jaunt of something that is state aid or something, and you can get yourself into trouble so many different ways, and maybe that's why no one wants to come be a code officer, because there's so much of this stuff to check.
Deed covenants trip people up all the time.
Mm-hmm. I don't have any.
No, I know, but people they got a whole plan, everything to go, and then all of a sudden, oh, no, something from 40 years ago.
Yeah, that's right.
there's no other questions, we can go down through the criteria. You may want to stay there in case we can't find it, Amanda. That would be helpful. So I see it's on page 10, is that correct? Name and address of the owner of record and applicant if different. Is that on there?
Good idea.
Oh yeah, she put a big stamp there. Name of proposed development and location, that's the, what is the name?
I just have it listed as John Doe Cabins. We do have an LLC now, so I can change the name to the LLC if that would be requested. Okay.
Either is fine. Name and addresses of all property owners within 500 feet of the property.
I have the property owners listed on C10-1. Do I need to get those for you, Penny? Okay. I can hand
Because
deliver
they
them.
they change,
I can hand deliver them if you would like.
yeah, that's okay, we like to mail them, so that they just, yeah.
Copy of the deed of the property, option to purchase. You have a copy of the deed, it's
Yep.
part of your packet. Name and addresses of all consultants working on the project.
That would be me.
Complete set of plans as described here.
Do you, for the final, do you guys want 11 by 17s? They're plotted right now to 24 by 36, but I can scale them down to 11 by 17s.
What do we?
Or I can bring in 24 by 36s.
I think we could waive that requirement altogether.
As long as you have one or the other and enough of them,
Why do you say waive?
Well, I can even read the
Right, what's
8
been
and a half by
submitted.
11.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, kind of a straightforward project and
Yeah.
easily, you know,
Easily described in the smaller document.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do
Others
need to
okay
add
with
an
that?
I have no problem with that.
Okay. That's what we'll look for, Amanda.
Okay.
So down to 7, graphic scale and north arrow.
The scale is on there. I do not have a north arrow indicated, but that is easy to add.
Right.
Page up.
Location and dimensions of any existing or proposed easements and copies of existing covenants or deed restrictions.
None.
None. Name, registration number, seal of land surveyor, architect, engineer, or similar professional who prepared the plan.
I will seal the plan if you are requesting it.
You're the engineer of record?
Yes.
13451.
13451, yeah.
So
All-
we have that.
All property boundaries, land areas, zoning designations of the site, regardless of whether all or part is being developed at this time.
I tried, yes, so the full parcel is shown on C10-1.
Kind of an odd shape.
It is a very odd shape. And so isn't 13L, which is a 26-acre parcel, which we also own. That one's a funky shape, too.
Maybe not to call it odd, but interesting.
Yeah, eclectic, eccentric.
Where was I? Okay, size, shape, and location of existing and proposed buildings on the site, including dimensions of the building, setbacks. Setbacks are reflected on there?
Yep, they are. I drew in a separate line for you. So I drew in the setback line, and then I drew in the dimension from the setback to where the corner of the back building is gonna be.
What page is that on?
That is on C 10-2, page 22. So the setback for R3 is, the side setback is 15 feet. So that's the first one, and then the cabin is gonna be 25 feet from the setback line.
Yep, I see it now. It was so nicely done, I didn't recognize the good work. Because they're typically not drawn on that nice. Oh, that's nice.
All right. Access for emergency vehicles, location, layout, design of the vehicular parking, circulation areas, loading areas, walkways, including curb cuts, driveways, parking space, and vehicle turnaround areas.
Yep, so on page 22, I don't have it shown because I don't think we're gonna do gravel, but we are gonna provide like a trailer turnaround. It's gonna be, flat gravel that we're gonna allow to grass over, kind of near the road. So it won't be hard packed, but it won't get muddy.
Right.
Yeah, that's not shown, so that'll be just north, so when you pull in, there'll be like a turnaround that you can back into. So I can draw that in there too.
Okay.
I'll put it in as non-gravel turnaround.
In other words, it'll be utilized with such little traffic that there's no need to gravel it.
Mostly in the wintertime, when it should be frozen, I
Yeah.
would think,
okay.
when people are
When they
coming
have
in with
sled-
trailers.
Sled trailers, right.
So it should be frozen anyway, so it'll just be plowed off, basically. Yeah. But levelish so that,
Yep.
yeah. And then emergency vehicles, the buildings will be separated enough so that you can get a plow in between, but it's open all the way around anyway, so access shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. Location and names of streets right away within 200 feet adjacent to the proposed development. It's just the
Yep,
old,
I have both York Street and Old Washburn Road.
is York
on-
Street that close?
York Street is, yeah.
Yep. Proposed finished grades and graphic arrows indicating the direction of storm and water runoff.
I don't have the intervals put on there, but I can add them. It is a gradually sloping, I think the, across the entire site from where the road is to where the septics are is like 6 feet total drop. So it's pretty flat.
So you can add those?
You would like to see the 10-foot intervals?
No, I'm not.
I think we could waive that.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Conceptual treatment of on and off-site storm water management facilities.
We will not have any site stormwater management. The area of disturbance is very minimal.
Okay. Location and sizes of existing and proposed sewer and water services, including connections. So you have a sewer
We have a subsurface private,
subsurface plan.
yeah, and then a private well that's gonna go
Yeah.
in.
Conceptual treatment of landscaping, buffers, screens, and plantings.
It will remain treed as much as possible as it is now, so there'll be trees still at the road. There's trees between our property and Hebert's, which is south of the property, and then there's a little buffer of trees between us and the Irving Quonset hut, but then it just turns into field after that.
Okay. So existing buffering. that-
Existing buffering, and
And-
Irving stores a lot of their farm equipment right there too, so it's
Right.
all exposed anyways.
Location of outdoor storage areas, fences, signage, and accessory structures.
We're not gonna have any fences, no storage areas, signage, maybe a sign in the future to meet the 4-foot square maximum. Don't have that located yet, it'll be near the road.
Okay. Context map illustrating the area surrounding the site, which will be affected by the proposal, including a long list here. I'm not gonna read it.
We are not impacting the road other than a curb cut. No sidewalks there, no intersections. Stormwater is gonna remain as it does now. There's a swale between our property and Irving's already. That will remain. Sanitary sewer lines and pump stations, that doesn't apply. We just have a subsurface. Nearby properties is largely just residential. It's all in R3 zone, so there's no different zoning there. There are no wetlands, natural features, historic sites, floodplains, scenic areas, or significant wildlife habitats that we're changing.
Okay. That can be seen on your map. All proposed signage and exterior lighting, including the location, size, and wording of all signs, type of exterior lights, radius of light, manufacturer specification sheet, ground level intensity, and foot candles.
I will not be doing a pole-mounted light. It'll just be lights on the building itself, so just, just an
Just
entry, just an entry light, and
Right.
maybe the eave on the front. I've asked our electrician to add an eave lighting on the front, so if you look at page 28 in your packet, where those half-round lights are, there might be some eave lighting there, like soffit lighting,
Right.
and that'll be it. And then there'll be one by the door, just an entry light.
And you indicated signage would be a future consideration.
Yeah, we don't have, and I don't, can you light a sign in the R3?
I don't see why not.
Okay. If it's lit, it'll be attached to the sign
Right,
itself,
right.
not a overhead.
All right.
And it won't be any more than 6 feet off the ground, because I have to reach it.
Well, if there's a utility pole, you can have those lighted.
It's at the road, and then we're just gonna bury the lines
Yeah, I
underground.
mean, oh, that's right, you're.
Yeah,
you're-
because it's
that's
at the
right,
road,
yeah.
so we're not gonna
Yeah.
have any, we won't have any poles on the property, just at the right of way.
That completes.
So I can add the sign, possible sign location?
Oh, you already, you know where that's gonna be,
I don't, it's gonna be near the road, it
Yeah.
might even be
beside the curb cut.
by the curb cut-ish, beyond the,
All right.
So people will see it at 2 in the morning when they've.
when they're rolling down the hill.
Well, when they've left Massachusetts after work at
Right.
5 o'clock and they're driving
Right.
out, yeah.
And then if they hit York Street, then they know they've gone too far on the trail, so
Uh-huh.
they have to turn around, so. Hopefully. So would you like me to indicate the lighting locations on the building itself, or is that description?
I'm okay with not doing that.
Okay, it's not gonna be any
Yeah. It's
large foot
just
candles.
residential.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not gonna infringe on your neighbors.
no.
That completes our checklist review of the preliminary plan. Is there any other comments, questions from board members? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I guess I would move to schedule a final review at our next monthly meeting.
I will second it.
Second by Maura. We have a motion and a second to schedule a final review at our next meeting of this application. All those in favor? Eric?
Yes.
Yes.
Maura?
Yes.
Steve? And I vote in favor as well.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. All right, back to new business. We're down to item 5, letter D, which is goals, 2025 goals for the planning board.
Well, you probably want to wait till Dave is here, because Dave is goal guy. He will tell us.
Our goal is to keep Dave happy.
No, I'm just saying, he always has a lot of them. Yeah, he wants us to work on. Unless somebody has something that they want to make sure it gets in there for tonight, or whatever. I know, finish the comp plan, yeah, from your lips to God's ears, yes, we gotta get that done. So comprehensive plan, I've heard that. Anybody else have any? I mean, we can actually look on our agenda, like we have the comp plan, LD 2003, neglectful acts. These are all in like old business, but I don't really have any updates on those either. But those are all things we need to do, like the zoning.
Where are we at with compliance with housing requirements?
The LD 2003?
Yeah,
We are not compliant. We were supposed to have it done like in July of... No, we were supposed to have it done by the end of December, I think. But they don't seem to be enforcing that because towns are trying to get things adopted, you know, and in our case, we're trying to adopt it as part of, you know, our larger project because we're working on the comp plan and working on zoning. So it didn't prevent us from being a high score on the Housing Opportunity Program grant. And that was one of the things that we were worried about because we hadn't adopted it yet, that we were that might cause us to not score well on that. And we still were fine.
was NMDC helping us with that?
Yes, and I asked for an update on their sections of the comp plan, LD 2003, and neglectful acts, which are also working with us on, and did not hear back.
Yeah.
Not for the meeting, I'll put it that way. I haven't heard back. You know, I said, oh, it's getting to be time for us to have our meetings. Do we have any updates? But I haven't heard any.
Yeah.
Well, if you think of any, you can always email.
I guess I would throw back on the table one I had before about solar energy. And I don't know, I guess I'd at least have a goal of having a board conversation about solar energy and its implication for Caribou,
Okay.
and whether we as a board should do something proactively rather than after.
Okay. We can definitely get that on the
And
agenda.
it's not an easy question,
Yeah.
because on one side you have people who own land and should be allowed to do what they want to do with it, but on the other side you have land that would be removed from agriculture for a long, long time at a detriment to not only to the future of our community, where we're such an agriculturally based economy here. So, and there are cities or towns that have grappled with it, and there are stories about them, you know, putting up rules after the panels are covering acres and acres, and you can't go back. So I'd like to see us have a conversation at least, and maybe action if appropriate.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay, that's a start.
That's a start.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got our things that we have under old business, and we've got solar energy. So, and you can always email me if you think of something in the car when you're on your way home.
Okay. Item 6 under old business is comp plan / LD 2003 neglectful acts. We have lots in that little line.
Yep. Well, like I said, I had asked for an update, and I didn't have one. I talked to Karen about the sections she's working on, and she was actually up here at Christmas, and we met 2 different times while she was here to just go over, you know, getting back on track with that. Bethany Zell was here, and she presented about she's working on kind of the zhuzhing it up of the comp plan, making it look cohesive as we're going through.
yeah.
So they are both working on things. They're waiting on, for me to work on a couple of things too, because there's a couple sections that I need to work on and I haven't done.
What's the due date, comp plan?
So we were talking with someone who said, you know, as long as you're working on it, they're probably not gonna be too, I mean, there's some towns that go 20 years and before they get theirs done, so. As long as we're showing progress. We wanted to have it done, remember, in the fall, and it didn't get done,
Yeah.
so.
I don't want to be in the 20-year category.
No, we're not gonna be that person, because like I said, I know that Karen's working on her part, Bethany's working on her part, and I'm sure Jay's working on his part. I just didn't hear back from him in time for the meeting, so.
So we'll skip LD to neglectful acts?
Same thing, I mean, those were the three things that I had,
Yeah.
I mean, it's NMDC that's working on the LD 2003 and neglectful acts, so if I don't have an update from them, I don't have an update from anyone.
All right.
He's also working on the land use table.
Land use, yeah,
Yeah.
as part of the comp
As
plan,
part of the comp
yeah.
plan. And the map, are they working on the map for us?
I don't know. I know that Karen was having a conversation, but I'm not sure where we ended up with that. Because they have someone up there that's been trying to do map stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure where that is, but I'll ask Karen.
All right. So item 7 is staff report.
So I don't have a whole lot to report for today. Our planner CEO position still open. We have ongoing projects. We had the DOT VPI meeting back in December. We had about 10 people there. I mean, that didn't need to be there. You know, that wasn't staff or those presenting. Everything is going great with our grants, and in fact, finally, after just about a year of working on the environmental assessment for the riverfront, not the power plants project, but the MBRC project, we finally have a draft environmental assessment that's out for review now during the 30-day review period. And it has literally taken a year. Now, some of that is because I wanted to use not taxpayer money, but apply to Maine DEP for some of their 128A money to do the phase 1, the phase 2 assessments, which saved us probably $60,000 by applying for those funds and having the DEP fund those assessments. And then we have County Environmental that's taking the information from that and preparing the the NEPA review. And we started out, I think it was 70-some pages, and by the time we got it to a document they would accept, so the first document that we sent to them was in June. We finally just got approval right after the first of the year, and I think it's up to 130 pages or something. And this is why a lot of towns don't take the money, because the NEPA review is just so intense, and it's just such a long process, and there's so much to it that they're like, okay, this isn't worth it. But as long as we don't have any negative comments from this 30-day period with the NEPA review, then we'll be able to get our final notice to proceed, which means that we can move forward with the Riverfront Master Plan and the purchase of 2 properties, one to restore and one to demolish. And it's pretty good timing because we should be able to get started on that work this summer. So, yep, that's where we are with that.
The power plant asbestos removal, is that on hold? Or
No, so we have, that's been very exciting over the fall. So we had the CERCLA action in the steam plant, which was completely run by the EPA. We did not have to apply for a grant. We didn't have any level of reporting.
What had happened with that was, again, when we were using 128A money to do the phase 1s, phase 2s, the hazardous building material surveys in the 2 power plants, the diesel plant and the
Yep.
steam plant. When EPA found out how bad things were in the steam plant, that's when they started working towards doing their own action in there. But they went through a few different project managers, and that drug on and drug on. And so because the EPA was kind of holding us, I hate to say holding us hostage, but you can't have 2 EPA projects going on the same like parcel. And even though we have separated them for the purposes of grant funding, it's still on the same parcel. So we couldn't start work on the diesel plant until the EPA releases the steam plant. So they kept telling us, oh, we're going to start, we're going to start, we're going to start. So finally, I believe it was August, they finally started. So the EPA hired a contractor, and it is really amazing. I went through there and I couldn't even believe it was the same building. It looks so clean in there. They took everything out that they could reach that was an immediate hazard. So they only remove what's an immediate hazard. So anything that was in the interior of the boilers, that's not touched. But everything on the outside is. The only asbestos that's not in there, that's still there, are in 3 pipes that run, on the ceiling, because there is no hazard to anyone, because the asbestos is intact on those pipes. There's not any damage from any water or anything. So they have those 3 pipes and what's inside the boilers. There's a little bit of transite, but it's not damaged, so it's not causing any kind of immediate threat. So as part of EPA's action they're doing now, and if people want information, we do have a fact sheet on our website that was produced by the EPA. They are in the middle of demobilizing right now. They should be done probably next week. They were all done with the asbestos project right before Thanksgiving. They had between August, September, October, I think they took 6 of those big dumpsters. It was all taken to Norridgewock. And they had, of course, they had their trailer there. They had to have a fracking tank because there was so much of that like lead-based paint. So when they have to use a lot of water for asbestos. So when they were cleaning all that, so all the water had to go in the frack tank, so they have to move that too, but probably next week they'll be done. So the next part of that is they'll produce an updated final fact sheet on the project. And as part of the project, they've also hired a company to give us a plan to take the rest of the asbestos and other hazardous materials out of the property and demo it. So you may be saying, well, we could never afford to do that anyway, so why does it matter if we have a plan? Because in the fall, we applied for another brownfields grant to do that, to take it down. And even though we don't have the final plan, we worked with gathering information about what similar size and similar type buildings, what it costs to have them, the boilers, all of the asbestos removed, and have that torn down. Now, we had to apply for that. It was due in November. We probably won't hear until May if we get that. But I thought we had a good application. But we're asking for $4 million, and that's the max. And they're only giving out 10 in the country. So we're competing against everyone in the country who's applying for $4 million. But it's no match. The diesel plant was $900,000 is what we got for the grant for that one. So now, as soon as they have completely demobilized The next step with the diesel plant is there's a lot of containerized petroleum products in there. And so we will have like Safe Harbors or someone like that come in to haul all of that off. And then they'll be able to put it out to bid to take down the diesel plant. So that'll probably happen next summer. And maybe that's more than what you really wanted to know for your question, but everyone knows that's my passion project. So if you don't set a timer, I could talk about it all night. So but anyway.
Is the heavy oil still there?
So we
Isn't there-
we don't own the bulk plant. So, but they say that those are clean. Michelle Hersey says that there's not any more of that heavy oil. Now they did find in the steam plant there's like a partial basement under there, and they did find some tanks kind of hiding down there that did have some heavy oil in there. And so that was part of our application, was to deal with those. But at least there's not, it's not the bulk plant that's full of heavy oils. But again, the city doesn't own those, so. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you
Okay,
very
good.
much.
You're welcome.
Other questions for Penny? Wait for Eric to get back. All right. So last item is adjournment. Entertain a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Eric.
I'll second it.
Thanks for
Second by
taking one
Steve.
for the team there.
Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor? Steve?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Maura?
Yes.
And Eric?
Yes.
All right. We are adjourned at 7:36.
Sorry, Laura, that was longer than I thought.
No, that's fine.
So you had a,
I have a surgery tomorrow in Bangor.
oh, you do?
Yeah.
You're going down in the morning?
Yeah, my friend's taking me down.
Okay. And your son?
My son's gonna be at school. And then he's gonna go to my mom's house for at least